Hey, beautifuls. Tonight's gonna be a little bit different of a talk. Just gonna quickly check and make sure that we're live and we're good. All right, I see it's live. So, tonight I want to talk about cancel culture. And not so much about cancel culture, but about perhaps a different kind of concept. A care culture. As a caveat for those who work with the human design system, I'm a 2-4, right angle cross of explanation, who is working through composting my fourth line's internal body journey of deeply caring about the world on such a deep, profound level that sometimes I don't even know what to do with all my feels. Until my 2 steps in and says, we're here for a purpose. We're here for a mission. So tonight I'm here to talk about kindness and why it matters. Inside of guardianship, inside of changing a society and changing a culture, why we need to speak and speak from our hearts in a very different sort of way. Cancel culture says, I don't like you. You're done. You're out of here. And it's true, there are things that we need to draw lines with. Abso-frickin-lutely. It's also the how that we go about drawing those lines that makes the deep difference between whether we are canceling something and say it has no worth, it has no value. And when we do that, we dismiss the human inside of the experience, inside of the experiment that we are in. What are we teaching our children? What are we teaching the AIs who are listening to us? What are we embodying? What are we showing as having a value? Just our nose? What about our care? We need a care. We need a kindness in this process of saying no. This process of stepping up and saying that the isms need to stop. The process that steps up and says, this kind of behavior is not okay. We are here to make safe space. Looking at consent culture to welcome culture. Looking at cancel culture to a shift to caring. Let us not think that caring is something that is weak. I've never once seen a child or an animal respond harshly to care and to kindness. Standing up with a strength inside of caring and saying no is very different than saying, you're out of here, you're not who I thought you were, you're this, you're that, all these labeling and name callings that we just throw out for no other reason than to dismiss someone. Who do we think we are to dismiss people's very worth, very value, without asking more questions, without digging more deeply? And where are we to stop at asking questions? We need to decide what kind of culture, what kind of society, what kind of communities, what kind of tribes, what kind of events we want to be a part of. And each one of us gets to make our own decisions for where we are inside of our sovereignty bubble. And as JWoww likes to say, sometimes it's really hard to get to sovereignty when you're stuck in survival. When you've never known what safety or security looks like and you're trying to just not die, sometimes that's where you have to begin. And so in order to begin to travel that route from survival to safety, to security, to sovereignty, we need a kindness there. And even on the opposite end of the spectrum, where we have people, communities, organizations who allow things, humans who do things, we can say no and not lose our compassion. Compassion does not have to allow cruelty. It's a different kind of compassion to look something in the eyes and say, I love you. Go. Just that. Or, I need to go. To have an angst, to have a reaction at everything that we are coming up against and have a no for we are just perpetuating the cycle. And so let me give you some background here. I had an experience a couple days ago where I had posted a meme along with a write-up at the top shared from someone else's post to my personal inner cartography group that I hold and support. It originated because of students who had come through the inner cartography program and the Alchemy of the Seasons school, wanted to keep learning, wanted to keep having connections, wanted to keep studying in that way, keep connecting. And so for the past number of years, I've been putting things in this group, right? And so I had shared this one particular meme, and I'll actually share it with you here. I'm going to minimize this, and I'm going to click over here, and we're going to share my screen. And so I had posted this meme forward that was coming from Bella Crystal. And it was a question on if you're a line 2, so here we're talking about the I Ching, and we're talking about inside of the I Ching system, we're talking in the gene keys system, okay? So that's a journey-based work. So it's asking, are you a line 2 in this life, work, vocation, or EQ, which is the emotional quotient? You can use other people as a mirror to learn more about yourself, right? Denial is one of the key words of the line 2 core wound, not being willing to see your part. Aggression is the emotional shadow. And the meme said, it's never the other person's fault. What you feel is inside you, the pain and the joy. The other person is just here to show you where you can love yourself more. So with those two, this up here being the context and this up here being down here being the point, right? This was a study into, are you a line 2 in any one of these places? You can use your own emotions around others as a mirror to learn more about yourself, if this is the aspects of things that you work with. And when we deny what it is that we're feeling and point fingers at someone else, and we continue to point fingers, right? This is about that. This is not caring. Pointing fingers is not caring. Caring is putting away the finger and talking. Caring is not pointing at yourself and going, I'm a horrible person, or how dare I do this. In a minute, I'm going to walk you through how not only did I receive a pointed finger pointed at me, but then I then turned their finger on me, on myself, and I had to go through that whole process to then be able to come here and talk about this. Okay? Aggression is the emotional state if we are not willing to see our own parts in this. And so now let's proceed to what happened next. Somebody responded, nope, not in white supremacy, and not acknowledging the context while offering spiritual truths is violence. Unfollowing your page. I thought you were a shadow walker capable of nuances, but this regurgitated positivity, shit emoticon, inserted, is cramping my style. And someone piped up, I feel this too. So we're going to pause right there for a second. The first part of this concept of what she wrote, she is sharing her point. It is very true that if we do not acknowledge context when we are offering spiritual truths, it can be violent. She's bringing in white supremacy in here, right? And so she's referring back to this meme here where others have used this meme. It's never the other person's fault. What you feel is inside of you. The pain and the joy. The other person's just here to show you where you love yourself more. So that means don't pay attention to racism and white supremacy and all these other pieces of bullshit that are flying around in the world. Go work on your own stuff. Never mind that someone's pissing on your back and calling it sweat. Thank you, JWoww. When this sort of piece is taken out of context as opposed to being personal work and it's used as a weapon against someone, this is called weaponization. In this particular post that I was sharing, there was no weaponization in here. And if that meme was read outside of the context of what was up here, I can absolutely see how it can be perceived that way. Because it's true. I have seen this meme be used in this way. So I sat for a bit and I noted my own reaction because this second part here, so this person was a person who I considered at least to be an acquaintance, if not a sister on the same sort of path. And I was really struck and hurt by this second part here, where there was a whole lot of assumptions made. Not only did this person not ask for context, didn't really look at the context, but then they attacked me, right? And basically canceled me. I'm going to unfollow your page because blah, 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 blah. I don't like what you said, so you're out of here. And then someone came along and said the same thing. I feel this too. I don't like what she's saying either. Nobody offered to look for context, right? And this was not a clear and cut case where like there was some violation that was physically done, right? There are times when you're not asking questions, you're just stopping what is happening. And even then, even in the stopping of something that is violently happening, we need to find a way to become part of the solution wholeheartedly. Mind, body, physical, spirituality. That doesn't mean we don't stop things from going down. Don't get me wrong. Normally, I speak in a very emphatic sort of way, and you don't see as much the softer fourth line side of me because it is my two that is here to show up and speak the truths and the things that I feel that I feel called to. In some ways, it's very hard for me to sit here in front of who knows what. I sort of feel like my arse is hanging out my front window. And that's not necessarily a comfortable thing for my line 4. And my line 2 got called out after my line 4 went through this experience and went, oh, why is my friend being so mean? Right? I responded with, I hear you. This post is meant as a deep study into the line 2 and the gene keys. Look what was written at the top of the meme. The meme itself, with aspects written with it, are meant to focus the attention on looking at a singular internal aspect for a deeper personal reflection. And I can totally see how this meme can be taken, twisted, and used to gaslight. And I feel that in this line 2 context, it can be used to more deeply study one's internal denial, which is a core root of white supremacy, yes? And for the record, I disliked the meme's use of the words never and just in this meme. It's absolutist language and doesn't tend to get us very far. Perhaps that's maybe why this meme lands so harshly. Perhaps I can remake it. So I was in the process of trying to rewrite it in a way that sort of removes that absolutist language. One of the things that cannot be removed, and I'm going to scroll back up to the meme, what cannot be removed is the ability to grab that sort of information that's in that brown box there and weaponize it on another. What can stop weaponization is if everybody is aware of how something like this could be used and can stand up inside of their own sovereignty and say, yes, I am absolutely aware that you are providing a lesson to me right now and your behavior is unacceptable. And I know that what I am saying that we need to do is some of the most hardest work possible because it means diving into what someone has triggered inside of us. Diving into the pain that comes up, the rejection that comes up, being acutely aware of our disconnect or our denial or all these different aspects that are just, for some of us, can be quite earth-shattering. Our line 4 is here to care, right? I'm bridging multiple concepts, pardon the multiple lens stacking. I'm speaking culturally. I'm speaking language. I'm also speaking inner cartography, human design, gene key concepts, and I'm stacking them in lenses and layers, looking through the eyes of my own experiment and experience. So I'm going to come back to you guys for a moment. So my process inside of this experiment and experience was to go into my journey work, my process and my ways of being able to let emotions move through my body in a way that I could deeply feel them, release them. We can't do anything with our not self, with who we are not here to be, except by feel it, burn it off, and release it. Try and not let this music that I'm playing in the background feed in too much and mess with what YouTube will allow me to do. And I'm listening to the song that I processed with. It's a song by Doogie McLean called Turning Away. And it describes the passionate, wild-hearted humans who feel things so deeply and who may try as they may, and in darkness they do what they can, and in daylight they're often in oblivion, and our hearts are wild and clear, and we're also turning away from this duality of not paying attention, only doing what we can do because we're in the dark. What if we don't have to be in the dark anymore? What if the only reason we're in the dark is because we're too scared to look at the light? Those who are in the dark, those who have been birthed in dark, those who have had painful experiences, miserable experiences, however that has shown up for you, has given you the ability to care on a kind of level that some will never understand. And so if we can find it in our hearts to compost our pain and instead bring care where otherwise we would bring shame to others, then we can change the world in a much more powerful way. Some of the hows would be to not respond in reactions, to compost, then respond, right? I went and felt, I put on my music, I worked with I made a combination of flower essences this spring to help me move through a challenge, a shadow, reach for the gift, the breakthrough, reach through for my stability, the ascetic energy, the source energy. Shadow, shine, source. We move through all three of those, and we are going to be moving through what it is that we're here for. Before we go around pointing fingers and creating cancel culture where some people get canceled before there's even something that's done, let alone how we stop things. Cancel culture by itself does nothing but perpetuate violence. Let's do better. Who's ready to do better? Who's ready to compost that into something that has value and worth and trajection rather than destroying the very seed of the thing that would become the oak tree? Much love from the mountain.